That sounds like a C-rate porno.
Those are my favorite kind. Anyway.
Watched it for the plot.
It's all about that dialogue. Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic Judge and Jerry. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host, Mattson.
Better red than dead.
Javier Ortiz.
What is up, my nerds?
And Ian Anderson.
Some shit.
We appreciate your help growing the podcast by hitting that follow, subscribe button. Tell a friend about us. Go check out our website, whatsourverdict.com, where you can listen to all of our episodes. Sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive content and updates and pick up some sweet, sweet merch. You can also interact with us there, which we always enjoy doing. The question we do ask each week is if you ever find yourself wondering if you should spend the time, money, or both on a movie. To help with that question, we put a movie on trial, discuss the facts, pass judgment, and let you know our verdict. Today we're reviewing Venom, Let There Be Carnage. It was released October 1st, 2021. It's written by Kelly Marcel and Tom Hardy. It was directed by Andy Serkis. It stars Tom Hardy, Woody Harrelson, Naomi Harris, Stephen Graham, Michelle Williams, and Reed Scott. Eddie Brock attempts to reignite his career by interviewing serial killer Cletus Cassidy, who becomes the host of the symbiote Carnage and escapes prison after a failed execution. If you haven't seen this movie and you want to avoid spoilers, now's the time to pause the podcast, go check out the movie, come back, pick up where you left off. If you're okay with spoilers, hang out with us because we're going to spoil the shit out of this thing. So,
I don't think there's much to spoil, as we've found out in our spoiler-free. But
no, but I love that in the spoiler-free, Javier spoils the biggest secret in this thing.
What?
He did.
I can't wait for Venom to bite Spider-Man's head off.
Oh, I just thought that was like common knowledge that eventually that was going to happen, you know, and that's fair. I did spoil that. Is that the biggest thing, though? Because I think we can all agree that's going to be a terrible movie. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I'm not excited about that.
Like,
yeah,
Spider-Man has terrible movies, like historically speaking.
So,
and Venom's not great.
No.
JJ, can you explain the difference between a red Venom and a black Venom? Because in me watching this movie, normal Venom just seems so underpowered, like, and weak once he fought Red Carnage. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but
in two movies now. He's now in two movies been the weakest symbiote that we've seen.
Yeah, and in the first one, like, it was a weird, because most of the symbiotes in the comics, at least like the original symbiotes and things, and there's been a ton of them now in the comics, but they're pretty equally powered. Some have different abilities, some have different things like that. But the different with this movie specifically, Carnage, much like they tried to show in a really janky way, is the child of Venom. Now, symbiotes in the comics are asexual. They have an asexual process in which they create a child, and Venom did it purposely in the comics. Kind of, it was less on accident than this movie, and really shitty, dumb way to portray the accident in this movie. Anyway, it was less that, but the symbiotes, the children that are created that way, are typically more powerful than their progenitor. So that is, they usually have more abilities and they're much more powerful. So that's why Carnage is more powerful than Venom, even in the comics. It usually in the comics takes Spider-Man and Venom to bring Carnage down, or Venom and Toxin, which is Carnage's kid, which is what they teased with the cop and the blue eyes. So most likely Toxin will be in Venom 3 if they make one, which I'm sure they will, because they're working on this Sinister Six universe.
Wait, how did that happen?
How the fuck did Cletus get one? Like, I mean, he got a little bit of Carnage in his mouth, and that was the end of it.
I told you, JJ, like before we even saw this movie, I was like, I'm really curious how they're going to justify this, because the whole first movie they went on and on about how hard it is to find a compatible host and how they can't live outside a compatible host and this and that, and then Woody Harrelson 1 in a million shot is compatible with this thing.
Well, and but
he wasn't, though, I thought, right?
He wasn't as compatible, but they were talking about mentally. They weren't talking about
Woody Harrelson wasn't dying.
Yeah, it was such a throwaway way to get rid of, like, we can beat them because they're not symbiotic.
And isn't it like Dan that brings that up? Like the guy who has the information about all this alien thing. And, you can defeat them because they're not symbiotic. It's like, where did you get that?
Yeah.
How would you even know?
also the guy that thinks Venom and Eddie Brock need couples counseling.
Yeah.
So,
dude, Dan's life would be a lot better if those two were dead.
Yeah. Well, and so here's the thing about the other thing that frustrates me about these movies and the comics is in the comics, Venom and Carnage can both live outside of their host. They don't need a host to live. They need one to be the full form that they end up in, but they can survive outside of being in a host. They can consume food. They can do all that shit as the blob that they are, and they can take some semblance of shape. But now Toxin, on the other hand, can't. He comes with a whole set of problems because of his name's Toxin, and he's got toxic claws. He's a pretty powerful dude, but he can't survive outside of a host. But it's rare that these symbiotes can't survive. So that bothered me about the first one anyway. And then they just leaned into it in this one, and because Venom gets out and runs away from Eddie's and just randomly killing people as he goes. New hosts. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Another one bites the dust, man.
Yeah. I was like,
people were unfazed. Like, where are they?
I was like, are we that hopped up on LSD that this thing looks like it's a costume? Like, people, this thing is scary.
Yeah, that whole, it was just, it's the same movie. It's the same movie as the first one. And I think that's my biggest, the more I watched it, I'm like, okay, so you rewrote the first movie, copied it down almost exactly, and then swapped Carnage for the other guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like,
yeah, I do have to give credit where credit is due, JJ, and say, you're right. That's super annoying and uncreative. Like, Venom has a few cool stories. Why not tell one of those cool stories?
Yeah. Well, and you have like the perfect opportunity for some real character development between these two. Because I don't give a shit about Carnage is just a foil. And I love Carnage. In the comics, he's this chaotic, overpowered, randomly just evil bastard. But he can be a backdrop villain that I don't need Woody Harrelson character development. The guy's a fucking serial killer. I don't care about anything else. He's crazy. He's serial killer. Give him a fucking symbiote and let him go. My problem is you have Eddie Brock and you have Venom, who, when Tom Hardy's in his mode, he's going. It's entertaining to watch him go back and forth. But you get lazy and have them separate like they did in the first one, and you just ruin all that character development. They argue, fight.
I totally forgot that they separated in the first movie too.
Yeah, I'm like, dude. I'm like, have them figure it out. They're stuck together. They realize that it's smart. Carnage or Venom's not stupid enough to just go, okay, I'm going to go find a different host that I know. I tried in the first movie to find different hosts and it didn't work out. So why is that going to be any different this time? So he risks him not being able to survive. And Eddie, it really frustrated me that they just didn't take the opportunity to actually do some character development between these two. It was just argue, funny, separate, come back together to fight the boss.
Yeah. It kind of, they just repeated the character development from the first movie.
Yeah.
But I will say the arguing was entertaining.
Sure. Oh, it's very fun to watch him talk to himself.
In fact, when he bitch slapped Venom's face, which resulted into an all-out brawl in his apartment, that was amazing.
Yeah.
As he was cleaning up his apartment, why was he putting sheets of plastic over the holes that him and Venom had put all through his ceiling? What purpose did that serve?
Doesn't let air get in.
I don't know what he was trying to do there.
I mean, it's the only thing I could think of. Yeah. Keep spiders out. I don't know.
It made as much sense as this movie did at times.
Shit.
I will say that the dialogue writing was pretty bad. Like, there were parts of this where I'm like, this is just super lame delivery. And one of the parts was from Woody Harrelson when he breaks Screech out of the mental ward, and he's like, and they fight their way out, and there's helicopters on standby to keep these mental patients in there, and they drive away, and he's like, who said romance is dead or whatever? And I'm like, oof, that That
But it was obviously ADR. Like, he didn't actually say that line until after. Like, they dubbed that line over because they didn't want the silence of them just driving off. So they're like, Woody, come record this shitty line.
And they, Shriek sure knew how to drive a Mustang for being in a mental ward and stuff for the entire,
that's what I thought,
her entire life.
Since she was a child.
They have a really good, like, after school program in these mental wards.
You must have like a simulator. I don't know, something fancy.
Built into that glass cube that she's been living in for the last 25 years.
JJ, does Ravencroft have more significance? I feel like I know that name from other movies, or am I just making that up?
Ravencroft is it's kind of like the Arkham of Marvel.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those things where, superhuman criminals, that's one of the places that they put them. And you see it a lot in the Spider-Man universe.
It reminded me, it looked just like the Cruella DeVille house.
Yes, it did.
Tom Hardy must have seen that movie. Like,
must have.
Yeah.
And can I
make it look like that?
Say how big of a waste this. Okay, so I think this is the most frustrating. Woody Harrelson's one of my favorite actors out there. Naomi Harris is very good actress. Tom Hardy can be really good at most of the time. My problem is this is such a waste of these really good actors. Like, Michelle Williams fits right in this movie most of the time.
Which one is she?
She's the Anne. She's the girlfriend, ex-girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
Reed Scott, the guy that plays Dan, perfect fit for this kind of movie. But those three, like, I'm just like, oh my God, this is terrible. Because when you see Woody Harrelson relegated to some really shitty dialogue, I'm like, no thanks. This is rough.
So I didn't actually like Woody Harrelson as the bad guy in this. I don't think he was a good fit for that role.
I think he would have been if the dialogue had been better. Like, if they had made him darker instead of weird, like, he was all weird and quirky and trying to be funny. Like, Cletus Cassidy in the comics is not funny. Like, and he doesn't try to be funny. The man is a purebred psychopath, and he's very serious most of the time. But yeah, it just was like,
yeah, JJ, that's a good point. Like, Woody didn't come up as very cold and serial killer. He just came off as aloof and quirky, and maybe, that didn't work.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't love. I honestly don't know if this love story that between him and Shriek is from the comics at all. I don't remember reading any comics where Cletus Cassidy had any like real love interest or anything like that. He was just a serial killer. He was just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and got a hold of a symbiote that was super powerful.
I did think it was interesting that they paired him with Shriek because that was like the sound that sets off Carnage and Venom. I thought that was kind of interesting choice there.
Yeah, it sets you up for an instant. This is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole Carnage turning on her very predictable.
Which I did have to laugh at the end there when they're at the top of the bell tower and Venom's like, oh, we need fire. And he turns and looks at Shriek or sound. I like totally expected them to make her like switch, just like slaps her into the bell and just falls to her death.
That was amazing.
Yes. That one got me off guard. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
He just fucking smacked the shit out of her. It was pretty good.
And the balls that Dan has to like run in there and just drop some gasoline on Carnage.
Where did he get the blowtorch?
Where did he get any of that? Did he just stop by a Home Depot on the way over?
He just randomly has this blowtorch. And he's just pouring gasoline and shooting it with the blowtorch. I'm like, I don't think that works the way you think it's going to work.
That's how it works. It does. It only goes one way. Yeah, it doesn't burn the other way.
Blown up?
Yeah, oh yeah. That shit would have gone right back up into that tank of gas. It was so, and that whole end fight, it made no sense. Like, so they would hit it with sound, and even in the first one, like if we go back to the first one, once the sound was done, they were right back to being symbiotes. In this one, they had like a 5-minute recovery time before they came back. I'm like, why would you mano a mano it when you have your symbiotes. Like,
and how was Tom Hardy losing that fight?
what?
Kaz in his bed in prison for his entire life. There's no way he is a physical specimen, right?
Oh, man.
And as terrible as the dialogue was, there were a couple lines that just had me going. Like, for instance, when Venom shows up and Carnage goes, "It's time to kill you, father." And then the priest is like freaking out. He's like, "Not you, father. You, father."
There was a line when Ian starts cackling next to me, and I thought it was Javier. And I don't even remember what line it was, but I had to look over at Ian because he just kept laughing and laughing. And I don't know if it was that one, but
well, one of them was the one that you see in the preview where you see Carnage and Venom's like, "Nope." It's like, that's a red one. We need to leave. We didn't even like Anne that much.
That's another one of my issues, though. Like, with this movie is that there's no real explanation, because there's obviously, like, Venom has an idea of what Carnage is and where he comes from. At least that's the hint that they give when they're having that argument. The full version of that argument of, I'm not going to fight this guy and we need to leave because we're going to die. Like, the implication was that Venom knew why Carnage was going to be so much more powerful, and then they just left it at that. And I'm like,
I mean, if they went further, it would have just been a freaking monologue, dude. It would have just been an info dump.
But here's what I would have liked to have seen, and what I was actually expecting more of, and I shouldn't have, because I've seen the preview 1,000 times. But why couldn't they have, when Cletus first breaks out and Carnage is first out there, have someone catch that shit on video? There's no video cameras in that jail.
No, so that they can assault the inmates.
Yeah, well, that's fair. There you go. Jesus, Javier. There had to have been footage somewhere of all the things that Carnage has done. There's got to be footage somewhere before they find him. So why can't they show that on TV, and Carnage comes back to Tom Hardy, or Venom comes back to Tom Hardy and says, "We have to go. This guy's going to be looking for me. Here's the whole thing. Here's what's happened. Here's the problem." Because then at least you get more of an explanation, and then they have to overcome that understanding of, we're going to die before it's this. We're already in the middle of the fight, and they've taken Anne, so now we're going to fight because of that. Instead, it's, okay, this guy can basically destroy. He's almost unstoppable. We have to go try. It's our fault that he's here, because we shouldn't have gone and seen Cletus. Shouldn't have lost my shit because he was instigating me on both sides of those. Neither of those things should have happened. So now you have a chance of, we have to make this up. We have to fix it and go fight, probably to our death. That would have been more interesting to me than like a minor freak out and then a big CGI battle, and would have shown some character development that was sorely needed, because there is none.
Yeah.
Let's call Tom Hardy up.
As a side note, I think we should start a YouTube channel, kind of like Mythbusters, where we test out certain things that happen in movies to see if it's plausible. Like, for example, grabbing someone's arms through prison bars, yanking it through, and then having enough time to bite him.
Yeah.
You know?
And make sure there's a guard like 6 feet away,
sleeping or something. Yeah. Because Venom assaults him for like 10 seconds.
Also, hanging off of a roof while taking a phone call, and my guess their cop out is it was Venom's arm or something. Yeah. You can't do that. Like, you literally, like, your arm is coming out of the socket and you are dropping.
But it was Venom's arm.
Well, it was Venom's hand,
at the very least. And why is it to me that one of the funniest parts of this whole movie is at the end when Venom's feet are in the sand?
That was so weird. I hated that.
He's wiggling his toes in the sand. Like, I found that almost more funny than anything else that happened in this movie.
I really liked Anne's interaction with Eddie Brock when she had Venom. Like, that was probably my favorite conversation between Eddie Brock and Venom.
He's listening sincerely.
Yeah.
Or they're like, it just keeps going.
And the cherry on top? Oh, the cherry on top of that, what I just said. Okay.
Not the right tone.
Not the right tone. Why are you yelling at me?
Yeah. That was a funny part. I don't know. There was some comedy in the movie. I will give it that. Like, the whole, and no matter how many times I saw the preview of it, like the whole thing of Venom singing the song while he's like throwing everything in the refrigerator into the kitchen and like making the two, and Eddie Brock's trying to have this serious conversation with Venom about everything that they're doing. Then all of a sudden, these 2 plates of just shit get thrown on the table. He squeezes the ketchup, yummy, like
it explodes all over Eddie Brock.
Ketchup, what? Boom.
That poor apartment, man.
He gets the mail. It's got a little testicle that goes down the stairs and gets the mail.
I did also enjoy Mrs. Chen as Venom. That shit was pretty funny.
That was kind of funny.
Pussy.
Yeah.
She's called him a pussy. Shut up, Dan. No one likes you. Okay, so about this post-credit scene.
Oh, shit.
They get teleported to somewhere else?
So the assumption is, look, the whole next, I mean, we saw the preview for the next Spider-Man. It's all about the multiverse and adding in the multiverse. That's just what it is. So that, to me, what they were showing is that somewhere along the line, the multiverse either changed. So either that post-credit scene took place in the middle of the movie, or it happens, my guess is it's right after Doctor Strange is going to do the little spell that makes everyone forget who Spider-Man is, Peter Parker is, and creates like this big multiversal problem. So all of a sudden the world changed because that piece of timeline that they were in changed because of whatever spell.
So that just happened to come at the same time that Venom was like giving him a fraction of the hive mind. So that wasn't because he did that.
No.
Oh, okay, got it.
My assumption is that's he was getting ready to, and then they got pulled out of actually giving him part of the hive mind because of the multiversal split. So
we watched that Spider-Man preview, and Doctor Strange essentially fucks up a spell and then turns around. He's like, it's because you're living a double life. I'm like, really? Because it looks like it's because you screwed up a spell.
It's because Spider-Man wouldn't shut up.
That's fair. That's a criticism for all Spider-Man, right?
Let the man concentrate.
Shut the hell up.
Spider-Man's in a surgery room with the surgeon, and he's like trying to manipulate her. He's like, hey, man, like, you know what I did? He like, be like, shut up.
Well, and he's tweaking the spell because you can see every time Peter Parker says somebody's name, there's an extra one of those lines that pops out. So it's like he's creating it by distracting Doctor Strange. But I have a theory that the Doctor Strange in this movie isn't actually Doctor Strange. So,
it's who? It's Venom.
I don't know. It could, Venom. It could be Mephisto.
Someone that likes it cold.
It could be Mordo. There's a handful of characters that they've talked about or that could be introduced that might create, that could have a similar power set and could mimic Doctor Strange. But I'm not looking forward to this Spider-Man movie. One, I enjoyed the first Spider-Man from like the Homecoming or whatever. I liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it. The last one, Far From Home or whatever the hell it was, I didn't love it. I barely liked it.
Which ones are these? So
these
Far
are
From Home.
Far From Home is the second one with London, where
they're on the school trip.
Yeah, and it's got Mysterio, which they fucking ruined that character.
Dude, that was a terrible movie. Terrible villain. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was. I don't know. There were some clever parts to it, but it wasn't a great movie. The first one was good. The second one, not so much. This one, I'm pissed because Marvel's has had to let Sony do weird shit, and they want to keep Spider-Man because they banked on Spider-Man in the MCU. So to the point that they're letting Sony drive some really dumb shit. Sony's wanted a Sinister Six universe forever, and they've got it being built. So
what is that?
The Sinister Six is like Spider-Man's greatest group of villains when they come together to fight Spider-Man. So
we got Venom and Doc Ock now, right?
Well, you got Doc Ock, you've got the Green Goblin. You're gonna have.
Wait, do we have a new Green Goblin? Or are we talking about?
So here's the thing: they're bringing back the Doc Ock from the original Sony trilogy.
I saw that.
So
are they gonna bring back William Dafoe?
Yeah,
there's a good chance Willem Dafoe's coming back as Green Goblin.
Dude, he was
There's
awesome.
A good chance.
I thought he died. Didn't he die in the movies?
He did, but now you have this multiversal split.
Because then it was James Franco who took up the mantle.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather have James Franco.
I'd rather just not have anything from the old Sony Spider movies that were hot ass garbage.
They were
Worse than
terrible.
the other two that came out from Marvel. Yeah, so there's a good chance that all of that, and I don't think Venom's going to be one of the bad guys because they're interested in introducing Mobius, with the Jared Leto movie coming out.
Mobius Dick.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're gonna have the Green Goblin, Doc Ock. They're gonna bring back Sandman. There's introductions to the Spider-Man trailer where there's like a bunch of sand floating around if you slow it down. So chances are Sandman's coming back. You've got.
Did we have Sandman in a previous movie?
Yeah, he was in the third.
Yeah,
one.
he's in
the third Sam Raimi film.
I probably didn't watch it actually.
He was with Venom, the original version of Venom, played by Topher Grace. Unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so you have Sandman, and then the sixth one will be Vulture because they've already introduced Michael Keaton.
How is Spider-Man supposed to beat all these people?
Spider-Man's super OP. Like that's the one thing about like the comics. Spider-Man is, first of all, Spider-Man is one of the most popular comic characters. Probably Marvel's most popular. Second of all, Spider-Man's ridiculously OP, and he always
in the Marvel universe, they've really dumbed him down, in my opinion.
Dude, they've done him dirty in these movies. I think
he's weak.
Yeah. Well, he's not though. He's a kid, and that's one of the things that I didn't like about Sam Raimi's is he figures out how to be like an almost unbeatable badass in 10 minutes of movie, whereas at least Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like he's afraid to use all of his powers. Like they talk about his spider sense in the second one of his movies where he hasn't figured that shit out and he hasn't realized what it is that he has. He gets his ass handed to him, but he also takes on the Winter Soldier and catches the dude's metal arm and like turns it like it's nothing. He catches cars. So, I mean, it shows that he has those powers. He just hasn't figured it out because he's still a teenager.
Giant Ant-Man too, right? When he in Civil War, isn't that Spider-Man?
Yeah, he kind of wraps his legs up. They make the Star Wars joke. Do you ever see that movie
where with the AT whatever?
Yeah, the AT. So yeah. So I mean, they are starting to get there, and I think that's part of the issue with Marvel, or with the Marvel side, the Disney side of Marvel, is they've been trying to slow burn this and actually give the actual story of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But you got Sony who wants to make money and owns the rights to these characters. So they're pushing forward a lot of these crazy, and I'm not looking forward because there's big rumors. And the more I watch of these previews and read about it, there is a great chance that the two other Spider-Men are going to show up in this movie too.
Oh, I saw rumblings on Reddit about that.
Yeah.
And which two would they bring back?
The only other two. So you got
Maguire and what's the other kid's name? The actor.
Garfield.
Andrew. It's like
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And so those two, there's a lot of rumors that the Doc Ock character, when he comes up in that trailer and he says, "Hello, Peter," he's not actually talking to Tom Holland's Peter. He's talking to the original.
If they do that, I'm really curious to see how they explain why Tobey Maguire can just biologically shoot stuff out of his wrists and why none of the other two Spider-Mans can.
And I'll tell you exactly why that's the case. Fucking Sony.
Yeah, because he's not supposed to be able to do that.
So Tobey Maguire, he gave an interview about that where he said him and the creators were like, if Spider-Man, Peter Parker, was smart enough to build a contraption like that, he wouldn't be some poor orphan in the slums of New York, right? And I was like, okay. I mean, I think there's plenty of smart people who aren't rich. Right.
Exactly. That's a very shitty thing for Tobey Maguire to say, specifically just out of touch, because I think there's a lot of geniuses. In fact, I think there's probably more geniuses that are in situations of poverty and hard times than there are that aren't.
Because how does he see this happening? There's like some 17, I guess he's in college, right? Tobey Maguire's character is.
Well, he gets there. He starts in high school when it happens.
Okay, so there's some 17-year-old kid who's like, look, I invented a thing, and everyone's like, wow, good for you, here's a scholarship or something, right? He's not gonna get rich off of that.
Well, and that's the other two did create him. So like Andrew Garfield's, they show him creating his web shooters, and then it shows Tom Holland. They explain it. In fact, Tony Stark's character says, how did you create this? What the hell is this shit? Right? Because he wants to make it too. So I'm so not looking forward to this Spider-Man, because I think it's just the end of a very interesting art that could have been done very well if Sony would just fucking let it go, but they won't.
Yeah, so. If it was about telling a good story and not making money. right?
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't get who's going to be Marvel's poster boys or women moving forward. Like
Shang-Chi now.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi will probably be top of billing.
And he earned
and
that.
he should. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good movie by really any standard, let alone a Marvel standard.
Shang-Chi. Yeah, and I think you'll see, obviously, I think Doctor Strange will be your tops as well. And then you're going to have the Scarlet Witch. So
I forgot about her.
Oh, Black Widow?
No. She's dead, dude.
She died?
No.
Yeah.
Dude, you watched Endgame with me. Like, she jumps off the cliff.
Oh, yeah.
Get the Soul Stone.
Sorry, I was like, I just watched Black Widow. She didn't die in that movie.
No, you're good. No, Scarlet Witch. So the one that does all the red magic, and she had a cool.
Scarlett Johansson is not coming back, right? After the lawsuit.
Yeah, hell no. No. Yeah, no. So I think she'll be a big one, especially after her TV show, because that TV show was really cool. WandaVision, that was an entertaining as hell show. It was really weird, really, really weird, but it was really cool. Anyway, but Venom it's been confirmed now that the release of this movie, and they've been keeping it hush hush and like hinting at the post credit scene for Venom. And now that it's out, they've confirmed that Tom Hardy will be in, as will Venom be in this new Spider-Man movie. So
when is that coming out?
December.
Hey, he didn't write it though. He's just an actor.
Thank God.
I don't think Venom is going to be the reason why that movie sucks.
No.
No.
It's just
going to be, they're going to be doing too much.
Exactly.
Going to happen.
Too much. Yeah.
It's like 2 hours and 37 minutes. It's like the longest running Marvel movie on record
besides
right now.
Infinity and Endgame.
They're not longer than Endgame.
What about that shitty Hulk movie? That was like 3 hours.
They don't count that because Marvel didn't make that. Universal made that.
Make it. Oh,
yeah, Marvel had nothing to do with that movie.
Okay.
That was all Ang Lee and Universal.
I would, if I'm Marvel, I'm making that distinction too.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, they do. Like they own the one that they made with what's his face? I can't remember. The one that was called The Incredible Hulk that had the different actor playing the Hulk. They own that one and kind of try to tie everything into that, including bringing back Thaddeus Ross, but they distanced themselves from the Ang Lee piece of shit movie where he wasn't even Bruce Banner. He was David Banner, which made no fucking sense. But
wait, is that the one with Ed Norton?
Yeah, Ed Norton. They do claim that one, even though.
And Tim Roth. So the only good part of that movie was Tim Roth.
Well, and then they bring Tim Roth's character back as like the Abomination in the Shang-Chi movie, which is pretty fun. Anyway, yeah, Venom will be in the new Spider-Man, which it just makes me sad because, like I said, I have never been the huge Spider-Man fan as far as comics go. Like, I liked him, but Venom was always one of my favorite characters because he was just this odd villain turned anti-hero. And his most recent comics, they had this big series of comics that were all about the symbiotes and their planet. Like, they called him the Black King came in, and he was like all the Avengers are fighting him, and it was crazy cool.
So I, as a kid, didn't really read a lot of Venom's comics because he actually kind of scared me, and I didn't like that. But when I was a kid, I really liked the Spider-Man movies or comics because it was like a kind of fun story about some kid who's just like accidentally getting into trouble and trying to fight crime, you know?
Yep.
So I kind of feel the opposite where I'm like, I enjoyed the Spider-Man comics when I was a kid and feel like these movies are kind of a letdown of the character that they built in the comics. But Venom, I don't know anything about. Comics. So they can do anything with Venom.
Javier, you jogged my memory when you said you weren't scared of Venom. Are you scared of Carnage? Because there was one point in this movie where you jumped pretty.
Oh shit!
Oh, what part was that? Oh, when they first introduced Carnage and one of the guards tries to run out and he gets like pulled back in. I don't know why I jumped in. That scared me. That was scary.
It was a little creepy at first, like because he was running in the shadows in the dark, just kind of pulling people out of nowhere. And so I'm with you. I giggled at you too when you put your feet up in the seat. It made me laugh.
Did I? I did. Hugging my own knees.
As you do. Yeah, no, I'm highly disappointed with what they've done with Spider-Man and across the board Spider-Man. Like I said, I like the Spider-Man introduction in Civil War, That was entertaining because that was actually Spidey. He was snarky. He was a kid that didn't realize how deep he was in.
And he had that shitty costume.
Yeah, he had the weird costume. And I even was okay with the first one, even though it was okay. It wasn't like it was great. But I loved Michael Keaton as the
Vulture.
That was a great choice, was Michael Keaton as a Vulture. But anyway, I'm not looking forward to the Spider-Verse, as they're starting to call it, when the best Spider-Man movie has been a cartoon called Into the Multiverse that they put out here. Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, that movie was great.
Was that a Marvel?
You should, man. Sony did it. Well, Sony was they made the movie, but Marvel collaborated on it heavily.
Yeah, that was the best Spider-Man I've ever seen. They should have just left it at
fantastic. If you haven't seen it, Javier, you should watch it. It's animated. It's computer generated. It's really funny. Good movie.
Okay.
It's a good movie.
If it's good, I'll give it a shot. Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
We'll
Into this Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's really fun. Your kid would probably love it too for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, actually, there's this kids Spider-Man cartoon. There's there's 3 little spider people.
Yeah.
And they fight crime. It's like a kid show. He loves it. He loves that thing. I was like, damn it. Come on, dude. Don't you want to watch monster trucks again? Look at Batman.
That's funny. All right. Well, we've talked half of this podcast about Marvel movies and Spider-Man. And
Venom.
I mean, without Spider-Man, there would be no Venom. So anyway, it was really creepy the way Venom licked his tongue. This guy, it was
to
weird.
The sky?
No, when Venom licked the TV with Tom Holland's face on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, this guy. And
yeah. I mean,
it was.
That's what most 14-year-old girls are doing, right?
Exactly. And I mean, that's where Venom started, was the symbiote attached itself to Spider-Man. And then Spider-Man's like, no, this thing's making me not a good person anymore. So he gets rid of it. But
is that when?
And that's how
Eddie gets all emo and goes on his little strut down New York City.
That was so bad.
I hated all of the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. Everybody gets so mad at me when I say that, but they're like, oh, those 3 movies were the best. No, they weren't. They were fucking garbage.
They weren't even good.
First 2.
They weren't even good movies.
No.
Period. I watched on Instagram the fight scene between him and Doc Ock. I think that's the first movie, right? And people are like, oh, okay. People are like, this still holds up. I was like, this is the shittiest CGI fight scene I've ever seen. This does not hold up. In what world did this hold up?
No.
Jeez, you guys are delusional.
Those movies are nostalgic for me, 1 and 2. The third one, yes, it was terrible, but I really liked 1 and 2. I think that was, I'm trying to figure out how old I was when those came out. Maybe I was 10 or 12 or something. So I was really starting to get more involved in movies, but I'm not here to say they're phenomenal movies. They're more nostalgic
Mattson,
for me.
Are you under duress? Blink twice if Marvel is behind you with a gun to your head.
Sony.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Hey, they did make some great video games, and one of my favorite video games playing was the Spider-Man 2 or whatever. That game was
Sony
one of the
definitely stick to video games.
Sure,
that video game was amazing. It was a sandbox video game. It was that might be the best superhero game I've ever played.
Have you played their 2 new Superman or Spider-Man
amazing
games? Dude, they're dope. I can't wait for the third one. Guess who's in the Spider-Man 2 game? Venom.
Oh, that's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, and it's Miles Morales, Peter Parker teaming up. It looks like there's going to be co-op in the game, and Venom's going to be the main villain. I am tickled because it's going to be far better than anything that they've put out.
Are they bringing in voice actors? Who do they bring in for those?
Not anyone.
Not Tom Hardy
nope. They get completely.
I'm assuming because they cost too much money to do something like that, and they probably does Tom Hardy even want to do that?
Some of them, so the Batman games, they bring in what's his name for Joker,
Mark Hamill.
Yeah, and that's not cheap, right? But
no.
So I was just wondering if they're doing something.
But he's
similar.
certainly cheaper than Tom Hardy, and Tom Holland. And now what they did do, so they did make a change to the original Spider-Man game that came out, and so he looked very different. Peter Parker looked very different, and then they made some tweaks right after Sony and Disney came to their re-upped their agreement to share that character. That they changed the facial actor for Peter Parker, and he doesn't look, it's not Tom Holland, but he looks much more like Tom Holland than the original facial, which I was like, that's lame, don't do that, but whatever, because it's a great game, a lot of fun.
They should
If
have
you're
just
an
taken Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and Andrew Garfield and just face morphed them together.
Face AI. If you're an A-lister celebrity, though, like why not do voice acting? I know maybe if you had to lower your price a little bit, that's an easy buck. Like
they do a lot of it. I mean, like a game, and it's just random. Like a game like Destiny had some pretty big actors for a while, and then what's happened is over the last like few years they've phased them out and brought in voice actors, like professional voice actors. That's what they do.
I think it's different. I think
because
it's a different type of
so much money, and you have to be skilled at it. It was funny. So when Destiny first came out, it had the guy from Game of Thrones that I can't think of the actor's name right now. Really great actor, fantastic actor. Played Tyrion Lannister and he's been in a lot of stuff. Anyway, I don't know why I can't think of his name, but he was dog shit in Destiny. It was so bad because it's a different kind of acting. So
yeah, like
you know who would do it? That's an A-lister, Henry Cavill. If I think given the opportunity, I bet because he loves Henry Cavill. Sorry, I said it wrong. He loves video games and everything like that. Sure. So, like, if there is a Witcher game, I wonder if he would do it.
They've already got the voice for The Witcher. He's been The Witcher for years and years.
And he's good. And he's fun.
Henry Cavill based his TV show voice off of that guy doing the video game. Like that's why he sounds the way he does in the show, which comes out in December, by the way. And I'm stoked.
Was that season 2? The number 2?
Oh, really?
Season 2 of that one comes out in December.
That's awesome.
So tickled. All right, boys, let's rate Venom because we've talked about everything but Venom for like the last half hour. I'll go first. There were entertaining parts to this movie. Most of it was really poorly done. It was a money grab that was lazily thrown together and would have been a year and a half out, I think, from the original if it weren't for COVID that turned it into a 3-year wait or some shit. And I'm very disappointed, even with my low expectations, because you can ask these guys. I went in thinking this movie was going to suck because I didn't love it.
He bought a souvenir cup, so I don't think he's telling us the whole story.
And then I threw it away.
Did you really?
Yeah, because I'm not putting that shit on my wall after that garbage ass movie. It will not go on this shelf because that movie was terrible.
That was like a $6 cup.
I don't fucking care. It was $6 in the garbage now. I'm not fucking putting that shit anywhere on my shit. It was so bad.
I appreciate the dedication to this.
Yeah, I'm not doing it because then that taints my collectible wall up there. I'm out. It was ugly. It was rushed. It was poorly done. Tom Hardy shouldn't write movies. He should continue to act in them. There was entertainment. Watching him be both Venom and Eddie Brock and the back and forth was really funny. But the problem with that is there was nothing different from the first one. And that's what I was looking for, is do something different. Now we know these characters, no matter how mediocre the first movie was, you have our attention. Don't waste it by doing the same movie a second time. And I think that was my biggest disappointment is I watched this movie already once. They just added another A-list actor and a really cool villain, and then they shit on them too. So it really frustrated me. It's far more entertaining than some movies out there. If you're looking to just watch some crazy CGI action, which the CGI actually looks really good in this movie across the board, surprisingly enough, but they probably spent that much money, and that's why Tom Hardy had to write the thing. So it was because it was.
You're like, oh shit, we don't have a writing budget.
Yeah,
Tom, you wrote stuff in college, right?
You know this character, you can write it. Well, that's also probably why they got Andy Serkis as a director. Look, Andy Serkis is one of the most amazing actors of our time. He played Smeagol. He did the monkey from like the Planet of the Apes. He was Caesar. Like the guy can do what Tom Hardy's doing, playing multiple characters and doing but he didn't do a very good job directing this movie. So I struggle with it. I'm going to give this movie, I'm going to give this movie a 1.5 off pure the fact that it could have been far worse. And there were some very funny, entertaining parts. But as a whole, the movie was lacking. It had a lot of weird shit going on and it was poorly written. So 1.5 from me. I probably won't watch this movie again. Javier, go ahead, buddy.
Oh, man. Okay. So I can't sit here and defend a movie that made the same mistakes as Marvel for like the same reasons that I shit on Marvel, right? So I've kind of changed my tune a little bit in that sense. I don't have an issue with the way that they've portrayed Venom because I don't really have any like standard to backdrop that against. And the CJ fight scene was cool. In fact, I can kind of relate to Marvel fans a little bit better now because I walked into this movie knowing what I was getting myself into. right? And in that sense, they kind of delivered in the CGI fight scenes and the witty banter between Venom and Brock, right? So anyway, it wasn't good in the traditional sense. like it just, the story was slapped together as an excuse to get Carnage and Venom to fight. So I'm gonna give it a okay, but here's the thing, guys. It was fun. I'm having qualms with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this a 2 because it's between like a 2 and a 2.5, right? But I don't think it's quite like middle of the road movie, right? It's like slightly worse. So I'm gonna give it a 2. I'll probably watch the first one again, but I don't think I'll watch this one again.
That's funny. It's fun to watch Javier have a crisis of conscience.
I do have a crisis because I was like, I liked this movie, but I'm like, I've just spent the last 2 years making fun of Marvel fans for liking shitty movies.
That's funny. Okay, Ian.
Yeah, I'm in the boat. This was not a good movie, but I did laugh at parts. There were some parts that got me to kind of giggle at, and it was I felt like the writing was just super lazy. Like at one point, the Carnage goes and like curb stomps a gas attendant clerk and then grabs his laptop and just finds top secret information by the symbiote sticking
literally
his hands
with the
into-
line, y'all got the internet?
Yep.
Yeah, or whatever. And I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, like it just super lazy. Like you could have come up with something that actually made sense. So yeah, it was not good. I liked the first one better, and I was hoping that they would improve on it, like figure some things out and kind of remove some of the stuff that didn't work. But instead, like you said, they just went with the same movie. So yeah, I'm gonna go 1.5, and that's only because Javier corrected me and made me realize this wasn't quite as bad as I like Cry Macho. So we're okay.
Got you a whole point, Venom.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna rewatch this one. It's not worth it. So that's me.
If I was a pettier man, I would have given it a half.
Yeah. You were just being hurtful at that point.
It would have just been to watch Javier's head explode. All right, Mattson, bring us home, buddy.
Yeah, so having not seen the first one and having to get my bearings straight with how they portrayed Venom and things of that nature, I'm going to give this movie a 2. Like all the points Javier said, if you're looking for some CGI action and if you like Tom Hardy and such, there's enough that this movie can carry you through. It also is very short, so the journey is not painful. You can watch it, you can get through it. There are some jokes that land. I didn't dislike this movie, but there wasn't a lot to really like about this movie, hence giving it a 2. So yeah, I'll definitely never ever watch this again, but I will be watching Venom in a Spider-Man movie in 2 months. So we'll see if it gets improved because Tom Hardy didn't write that movie. We'll see.
That's coming out in 2 months?
December.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Christmas, right?
Yeah, Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's December 19th, something like that. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I already had this qualm. I'm like, that's not Christmas. Yeah, it's December 19th.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll end up talking about that movie and shitting on that one because it's coming up December. We got a Marvel-filled back half of the year. Hey, I'm hoping the Eternals is good. I know Spider-Man's going to suck ass, but I'm hoping the Eternals is good.
At least
Eternals
amazing. Is something new.
Yeah, it's different. And I'm hoping it introduces the X-Men because that's the comics I lived in, was the X-Men. And they really fucked it up at Fox. Anyway, that's a whole nother story.
I like those movies too.
I know, and I hate you for it so much. All right,
That's
so Venom,
why.
not a very good movie. I think we've talked about more movies than this one than any other podcast we've done. So
AJ, can we tell them about what we're going to watch next week?
Yeah, we can. I was just getting ready to do that. So we're going to watch James Bond, No Time to Die. That poor Mattson's going to be heartbroken. When
there's no way this is a good movie.
And there's no way, even if it's a fantastic movie, it's not as good as Mattson's got it built up in his mind.
My goal for the next week is to lower my expectations. Every day I'm going to say it's really going to be okay.
This has been a gradual ramp up for you for months. I don't see how you're going to pull that off in 7 days.
Well, and I love that. Like you posted like some comment in Facebook or somewhere. You were like, best movie of the year. And I'm like, whoa, those expectations are up there.
Oh. You saw me on Venmo. I was paying my sister.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That was the movie tickets I bought for this movie. But Javier, like any good fighter cutting weight before a fight, I'm cutting expectations.
You better write
the key
007 on your toilet seat so you're shitting on it every day, and then maybe it'll be up to par.
The key is to eat only spinach and eggs with no salt all week, and that'll at least distract you from the movie about how much your life sucks.
I love it. So yeah, tune in next week for 007 making his comeback. The last of this particular 007. We'll see what happens moving forward.
You guys are already making me sad to watch this movie now. So it's working.
The Daniel Craig, right? That's his name. They were asking him about who should play the next 007, and people are getting mad at him because he was like, I don't know if like a woman should step in and play 007. I think we should create another cool, strong character that is a woman, right? Yeah. And people are like, he doesn't think that 007 should be a woman. He's like, no, that's not what I said. I said we shouldn't cheapen the idea of portraying strong female characters by trying to pigeonhole her into this character.
Which I'm pretty sure is what the movie's trying to do with this character that is the new 00.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to create a new character, and everybody's like, yeah, 007's going to be a woman. And the guy that owns the rights to the movies and like makes the movies, he said there will never be a female 007 or female James Bond because it makes no sense. It doesn't work. But he also followed it up and said there definitely could be some strong 00 characters, just not James Bond.
Hey, they're going to change it to James Bond to Jamie Bond.
There you go. Yeah. See, and that's the problem.
I'm Bond. Jamie Bond.
Yeah, like that's the
you're
bad.
Fucking sounds like a C-rate porno.
Those are my favorite kind. Anyway.
Watched it for the plot.
It's all about that dialogue. It was still better than Venom's plot.
It was still better than Venom's dialogue.
So tune in next week. Mattson, why don't you tell them where else they can find us, my man?
Oh my gosh. If you want to definitely chime into our podcast next week with James Bond, because there's going to be some broken hearts, most likely. So find us on Spotify, Ghana, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on social media. Check us out at our website at whatsverdict.com. Besides James Bond, there's also some other heavy-hitting movies. I'm very pumped about Dune as well, I might add.
And Jackass at some point.
Oh, man. When
maybe movie of the year?
Nope, they moved it to February of next year.
Oh.
Damn them.
Yep.
Well, at least we get to
I will fly back to watch that movie with you guys. I'm so excited for that movie.
Should be fun. All right.
So check us out, everyone.
Definitely. We appreciate you tuning in. Check us out next week. Hit us up on the website. Send us an email. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.